It's 3 p.m. now, Cairo local time. It's a very good afternoon to our viewers and welcome to our English News Bulletin. My name is Angie Meher and I'm delighted to be in the company of Shireen Aidel. Good afternoon to you, Shireen.
Good afternoon, Angie. Good afternoon, dear viewers. And we start with a look at the major headlines. Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati attends a G7 ministerial meeting in Italy and stresses importance of reaching an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon. Israeli occupation says it had hit 25 terror targets belonging to Hezbollah across Lebanon.
Welcome back. The details in full. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Badr Abdelati, stressed the importance of reaching an immediate ceasefire and fully delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza without restrictions from Israel. Foreign Minister was speaking during a ministerial meeting in the Italian city of Fiji on the latest developments in the Gaza Strip and Lebanon. The minister also condemned Israel's approach meant to displace the Palestinians and reiterated Egypt's complete rejection of any attempts to displace the Palestinians and undermine work of UNRWA, which plays an essential role in alleviating the suffering of the Palestinian people. He also warned against the dangerous situation in the West Bank due to the continued Israeli settlement policies. Abdelati also highlighted the latest developments in Lebanon, stressing the necessity of reaching an immediate ceasefire, the urgent need for the Israelis to stop violating Lebanon's sovereignty, and the importance of implementing the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration Badr Abdelati asserted that peace and security will not be achieved except by restoring the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people and ending Israeli occupation on Palestinian territories. The Foreign Minister remarks came during his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on the sidelines of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting in Italy. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that the meeting came within the regular coordination and consultation between Egypt and the United States to contain escalation in the Middle East and to discuss latest developments regarding negotiations for an immediate ceasefire in both Gaza Strip and Lebanon. Abdelati also tackled with Blinken the latest negotiations to achieve a ceasefire in Lebanon.
On the sidelines of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting in Italy, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Badr Abdelati, also met with the Italian counterpart, Antonio Tajani. During the meeting, they discussed the latest developments in the Middle East. The meeting also tackled means of boosting bilateral ties on all levels, as well as activating the Egyptian-Italian Business Council in a bid to support the relation between the government and private sectors.
And the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, Badr Abdelati, also asserted Egypt's keenness to achieve stability in Sudan in a way that enables Sudanese people to build their nation and fulfill aspirations. This came during the Foreign Minister participation in a quartet meeting on Sudan held on the sidelines of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting. Abdelati said Cairo is deeply keen on achieving stability in Sudan for the Sudanese people to be able to build the nation and achieve their aspirations. The Foreign Minister also stressed the necessity of preserving Sudan's state institutions, respect the unity and sovereignty of the country. He also said donor countries must commit to their promises for humanitarian assistance to Sudan, which he said is facing a deficit of nearly 75% of its needs.
The European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said Tuesday that Israel has no reason to turn down a proposed ceasefire with Lebanon, brokered by France and the United States. Italy, which holds the rotating presidency of the G7 group of nations and is hosting the foreign ministers' meeting, voiced optimism about a ceasefire. Lebanon says at least 3,768 people have been killed in the country since October 2023, most of them in the past few weeks.
And the Israel Security Cabinet is expected to convene later on Tuesday to discuss and likely approve the text at the meeting chaired by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. That optimism was shared by Lebanese Foreign Minister Abdullah Abu Habib, who expressed hope at the G7 meeting in Italy that a ceasefire would be reached by Tuesday night. Lebanon's Deputy Parliament Speaker Ilyas Abu Saab said the proposal has already won approval in Beirut, adding that there were no serious obstacles left to start implementing it.
Meanwhile, Israel's occupation military said in a statement it had hit approximately 25 terror targets belonging to Hezbollah across Lebanon, including at several valleys, South Beirut and the city's outskirts. Balls of smoke were over the capital's southern suburbs after strikes began in the morning after successive Israeli military warnings to evacuate. Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported a fourth wave of Israeli raids in South Beirut evening, saying that enemy warplanes launched strikes on several districts. The attacks came after a weekend of heavy raids in the area despite ongoing international ceasefire efforts.
And the Gaza Civil Defense Agency said Tuesday morning that 11 people were killed in nighttime Israeli occupation forces airstrikes and artillery shelling across the Palestinian territory. In the northern city of Jabaliyah, 7 people were killed and several others wounded in an airstrike.
Meanwhile, the health ministry in Gaza said Tuesday at least 44,249 people have been killed in more than 13 months of war between Israeli occupation forces and Hamas. According to the ministry, the toll includes 14 deaths in the previous 24 hours, which also added 104,746 people have been wounded in the Gaza Strip.
And the Ukrainian Air Force said Tuesday that Russia launched a record number of drones at Ukraine overnight, damaging buildings and the critical infrastructure in several regions.
While Moscow and Kiev have been escalating their drone and missile broadsides with Ukraine, recently firing U.S. long-range missiles at Russia, and the Kremlin retaliating with an experimental hypersonic missile. We have more details in this report.
Russian forces staged their largest ever drone attack on Ukraine overnight, cutting power to much of the western region of Ternopil and damaging residential buildings in Kiev region. Intensified nightly drone attacks on Ukrainian cities are coinciding with a major push by Russia along front lines in Ukraine's east, where Russian forces have made some of the largest monthly territorial gains since 2022. Ukraine's officials said that 188 drones used overnight, Ukraine shot down 76 and lost track of 96, likely due to active electronic warfare. 5 drones headed towards Belarus, and Russia uses cheaply produced suicide drones and low-cost decoy drones, which tie up Ukrainian air defenses. An Air Force statement said that there were hits to critical infrastructure facilities and private and apartment buildings were damaged in several regions due to the massive drone attack, adding that no casualties have been reported. The attack damaged the power grid in Ternopil, a major city in western Ukraine, and cut power to around 70% of the region. Ternopil, some 220 kilometers east of NATO member Poland, and the surrounding region had a population of more than 1 million before February 2022 Russian invasion, which drove many Ukrainians west. Witnesses heard explosions ring out over the capital, while Kiev city officials said the air alert had lasted 5 hours and 10 Russian drones were shot down there.
And Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli met with Major General Nasser Fauzi, head of the National Center for Planning State Lands Uses. During the meeting, Prime Minister Madbouli stressed that the state supports the role played by the center in planning various uses of state land, ensuring their proper exploitation in various directions of sustainable development. For his part, Major General Nasser Fauzi presented a status of detailed studies related to the inventory of lands on the northwest coast within the framework of preparing them for projects in the tourism sector in light of the promising opportunities enjoyed by this region on the Mediterranean coast.
President-elect Donald Trump has pledged big tariffs on the United States' 3 largest trading partners, detailing how he will implement campaign promises that could trigger trade wars. Trump, who takes office on January 20th, said he would impose a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico till they clamp down on drugs, particularly fentanyl and migrants crossing the border, in a move that would appear to violate a free trade deal. Trump separately outlined an additional 10% tariff above any additional tariffs on imports from China.
And Paris Saint-Germain have plenty of individual quality and terrific manager in Luis Enrique. Bayern Munich head coach Vincent Kompany said on the eve of Tuesday's Champions League clash at Allianz Arena, 6 times European champion Bayern are in lowly 17th in the 36-team Champions League table amongst their playoff spots, while PSG's qualifying chances are in more danger as they sit 25th, one place outside the playoffs midway through the group phase. However, Kompany has no doubts over PSG's ability and is counting on the Bayern fans to spur his side on.
Barcelona coach Hansi Flick warned his team they must stop making mistakes ahead of the Champions League clash with French side Brest on Tuesday. Spanish league leaders are looking to bounce back from defeat at Real Sociedad and a draw Celta Vigo in their last 2 outings. Barcelona led a 2-goal lead slip in the final stages against Celta on Saturday, and Flick said his young team, which has defeated Bayern Munich in Europe and rivals Real Madrid in La Liga, needed to take another step forward.
Well, dear viewers, that's all for the news bulletin. I'd like to thank my colleague Angie Meher. Thank you, Angie.
Always a pleasure, Therine, and thank you to our viewers for watching.